Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vande Aham Shri Guruhu Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsta Shri Rupam Sakara Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tamsa Jeevam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsta. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today we will be looking at chapter 14. Yesterday, in chapter 13, we saw the qualities that are required for one, or at least cultivate, to be able to walk on this path of devotion. Devotion is easy once you acquire it, as I told you. I gave you an example, personal example of how studying makes things far more easier than not study, right? So similarly, devotional service also is something that becomes absolutely as easy as breathing, or as easy as any of the other tasks that we do for ourselves, if we practice it. It's all in the practice. If one does not practice, bhakti, it is going to be far, far away from us. And why is bhakti important? Because bhakti is that fundamental, backbone that keeps us going in the right direction, and as well as helps us to acquire and imbibe the right things that are around us. It helps us to kind of elevate ourselves. It helps you to enlighten yourself. It helps you to kind of become enterprising. You kind of just shed those kind of the complaining attitude, or all those attitudes which are actually not progressive, which doesn't help you in any way other than keeping you displeased, and as well as completely in a state of depression. Today we hear every second person talking about being stressed out, being in depression. It is actually very, very alarming, because in the earlier days, if you really ask your parents, and also about the generation of your grandparents, etc., you will hardly find anybody complaining. Yes, there would be some which are which would be probably very, very few in numbers, but today it is very, very high, and most of it, if you see, is because of some loss, either loss of either having met with either having been dissatisfied in a relationship, or having not achieved something which they set out for, or maybe due to some kind of a peer competition, or something also because of something which is related to families, because families are all now nucleus. The concept of living together, the concept of community is not there. Each one of us are just looking at ourselves. We are not really concerned about the population around us or about the situation around us. We are happy as long as we get what we want. We are really not concerned how the society is progressing. How are things being available to people around us? So all of this has actually made us very, very selfish. The selfish nature to a large extent also contributes to our stress, because if we don't get what we get, what we want, it leads us to all those kind of that, the cycle that we saw. It leads us to anger. Anger leads to delusion. Delusion leads to complete fall in the intellect. We read this way back in the earlier chapters in the first section itself, right? So therefore, the qualities that we saw in chapter 13.8 to 13.11, I would urge each one of you to kind of take a printout of those qualities and keep them on your desktop, either in your office, if all any of you are working, then put it up as your, as a quality. You just take those qualities. You don't have to, you don't have to really tell people, oh, you know what, all this is from the Bhagavad Gita, because to understand the Bhagavad Gita, you need to be blessed. To understand, or to even, to continue your passage with these spiritual activities, one needs to have that mercy of our gurus. And also we need to also ensure that, by our habits, we are cultivating, so that we are reaching closer to Krishna. That will make you humble. For example, Anirudh Prabhuji, he wanted to do some studies on Brahma Samhita. That group, you won't believe it. The person, Anirudh Prabhuji will interact with him. He's such a humble person. I can't. So well read, but so humble, so simple. Doesn't look forward to anything. It's just that probably 2 pairs of clothes that he has, and he's happy with all that. When you see such people, you realize how stupidly, at least I realize how stupidly I have led my life. And, it's taking time. It's not easy to come out of your desires. There's so much that we have cultivated to create that detachment. Is not an easy process. You have to really work hard. So it's easy, now I'm telling you, be detached, but try hard. If you like something, say something which you want to give up, which is really not good. Try giving it up and see how you can, how much time, and truly give it up. How much time it will take you. That will actually, teach you a lesson as to how habits are so hardened. They get cemented. They get so hardened and so cemented. To break it is, oh my God, it's hell a lot of a task. Okay. So as I was saying, print out those qualities, put them up on your desktop, whether at home or at office or in both the places, and keep looking at it. Keep looking at it at least as often as you can. That will actually, keep reminding you, or at least even if you haven't started making an effort, you will consider making an effort, or all your reflections will be around that quality, around those qualities. And let me give you an example. Suppose, say, you have had a bad day. When I say a bad day, a bad transaction. When I say a bad transaction, not banking transaction, a bad conversation or something where or maybe in an office kind of a situation, you had a presentation. The presentation didn't go too well. Or maybe you were not able to convince them very well. Or another situation can be, in your friend circle, you have somehow not been able to, engage effectively or productively in conversations. And probably some of your friends got annoyed, or probably, they would probably not really look at you as much with that much of affirmation that probably you expected. Come back and look at these qualities and, try and see what went wrong. That's how transformation happens. That's how self-development happens. So these qualities can be your indices. They can be your various, you need props, right? So these are your props. Look at it. Where was I? What is it that went wrong? What was it that was wrong in my tone that upset a very close friend of mine? Was it my ahankaram? Was it that I was, I overwhelmed the person? Or was it that I showed off to that person my own knowledge, which again is ahankaram? Or was it the tone of my voice? Or was it the choice of my words? Where did I go wrong? So that is how self-development happens. Self-development, number of trainings for self-development.
They'll tell you, do this, do that. Ultimately, it all, boils down to having a checklist and trying to tick off in that checklist. What is it that went wrong? Right? Where am I supposed to? What is it that I've done well? Also give credit to the things that you have done well. Don't always try to look at the negative side of you. That's another problem that with most of us. We always try to see what is wrong with the other person. We don't try to see what is right. Everyone has some right things. Everyone has a positive side as well. So look at same thing applies to you. Look at what is good in you. Don't penalize yourself when something goes wrong. It's okay. We all make mistakes. There's no one in the world who's perfect. We know how we make fun of all our politicians. We make an enormous number of mistakes. So we shouldn't be thick-skinned, therefore. Okay, mistakes hota hai, isliye thick-skinned rahenge. To kya hua? That mentality should not be. The mentality should be, yes, where am I strong? And how should I use my strength so that my weaknesses disappear or my weaknesses are not allowed to come to the top? Okay. I hope this makes sense. Hare Krishna. Anybody? Was it okay?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So today we will look at, thank you, Ishan Prabhuji. So today we will look at chapter 14. Wow. Can you imagine? We just started a few days ago and we are on chapter 14. Super. So let me share my screen with you. Share screen. So today, this is a beautiful chapter. Because, all along we've been talking about Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and the Tama Guna. So today we're going to study what are these true gunas, how are they, how do they manifest, and what are the results or what are the outcomes of these manifestations, and what happens when any of this is not in balance, or rather when something which is not as good in us, we would easily be able to identify where is it that I need to really patch up, or where is it I really need to work on. So this will give you a beautiful insight into how we need to kind of assess ourselves. Okay. So I will try to give you as many examples as possible, but I also today I was reading Prabhupada's purports. I keep telling you, read purports. Purports are phenomenal. It's so simple and so nice that one just, at least I drown in it. And each time I read it, it gives me a very, very different perspective and a new insight. A new insight develops. So, okay, I'm going to take you through a few of Prabhupada's sentences as well, because I don't think anyone can do justice by putting their own words into it if we don't use Prabhupada. Okay. This chapter is called Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. That means the three types of gunas, the three modes of material nature. The material nature, the pradhana, which gets activated by all the jivatmas, and for the jivatmas to kind of conduct their lives. When I say jivatmas, I'm not including only the human form. I'm talking about all the 84 lakh species that we are that are there in the Earth planet alone. Okay, and there are, it seems, around 4 lakhs of human species itself. So you look around, there's so many of us who look so different. Our statures are different, our colors are different. Some, if you go into the forests of these Amazon forests, and even deep inside China and all, you'll find some really tiny people, right? So there are different forms of human species as well. So similarly, there are different forms of species on land and air and fire and everything. That's a beautiful explanation that Prabhupada gives. I will tell you when we come there. So overview of this chapter is a very small chapter. So this chapter, the Lord talks extensively about how these gunas affect us. How these gunas are present, why are these gunas present in the material nature, and how do we get ourselves under the influence of these gunas. And then he's going to talk about, in about 4 verses, how we get conditioned by these gunas, how these modes kind of condition us, and what is the result of that. Then Arjuna, as always, so nice. So we should be, as I say, we should always be grateful to him. He always asks the question. He said, how do I find out who is that Gunatita? Gunatita means one who has transcended all the gunas, one who was successfully able to kind of win over all these gunas. Okay. So that is a detailed one. And I think we have covered almost all the verses in this chapter, in this deck. So would somebody want to read this verse, Hare Krishna, 14.1?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The blessed Lord said, again I am declared to the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji, the Lord, talked about the wisdom, the highest wisdom. He said, I'm going to give you the most confidential knowledge. And that confidential, there are two confidential knowledge that the Lord gave us. One in chapter 2, which is that we are all souls and soul is eternal. And then there was another confidential knowledge that the Lord said, the only way we will be able to really feel that Paramatma within us, or attain that self, or create, or engage in self-awareness and attain that self-realization or the God realization, is only when we walk on the path of bhakti. So devotional service is what will help us to kind of transcend, transcend all these material modes. And we are going to study those material modes in this chapter, as I said. But the Lord, he affirms here that all the great souls in the past have understood this wisdom, because of which they have kind of attained that supreme perfection. So he says that, the human mind often wants affirmation, often wants pramana. Pramana means give me proof. So he says all the sages, all the kind of people in the past who have kind of really lived a great life have done it because they have imbibed this wisdom and lived by this wisdom. So that wisdom is the one that the Lord is going to share in this chapter. 14.2, he says, by becoming fixed in this knowledge. So what is the benefit of this knowledge that he's going to reveal to us? He said, one can attain to that transcendental nature. One can attain that nature, transcendental, the divine nature, which is pure. See, we are all part of that Parabrahman. We are all part of that supreme Yogeshwara, Maheshwara. So we are as pure as the Lord himself. But remember, no one can ever be equal to him or above. That is a fundamental, thing that you need to keep in your head. There are very many, mushroom. There's so many people who are mushrooming all around us, calling themselves, no one is God. At the end of the day, there's only one God, and that is Krishna. And everyone is subordinate to him. We are part of him. We can get that form of purity because we are all from him. But at the same time, that is only in quality. In quantity, he is the Vishwarupam that you saw. He encompasses everything that is there that you see in this universe, and also in the several of the universes that he creates. Okay. So the Lord says, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. So which is like my own nature. You don't become the Lord. You only attain that purity, which is easy. How? Through bhakti. Thus, established. One is not born at the time of creation. Because once we reach the Godhead, we're not going to be born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution, because we will completely relieve ourselves from this ocean of material energy, or this material, he calls it, this material realm is ashashvat, and it also has a lot of miseries which accompanies this material world, right? 14.4, he says, Sarva yoneshu kaunteya Murtayah sambhavantiyah tasham brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradaha pita. So he says, it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that time the seed-giving father. We saw all the things that he said. I am the taste and water. I am the strength and the strong. I am the king of all the kings. I am the good, I am the bad, and I am also the ugly. He says, he is present in everywhere. His impersonal form, everything that is around us is the Brahman. So many people, they say Lord is impersonal. How can he be impersonal? It's like the sun. You don't see the sun directly, but the sun rays is impersonal. But the sun is real. And it's because of that sun, the sun rays are there. Okay? If you look at an ocean, the waves in the ocean are part of that ocean. The waves themselves are not ocean. So similarly, the Lord is present in everything that we touch, but at the end of the day, the Lord is a person, and that personal form is what has all the kind of beauty and all the kind of great qualities, which is what we need to we need to see how can we really, get close to those qualities of the Lord. I'm not saying we can attain those qualities overnight. We need to work hard because we're all so conditioned. When I say so conditioned, we're also hardened by our habits, and our habits have all come around from all the previous births that we have had, and as well as, the kind of value system that we have all grown up in, family, schooling, the society, and then our own experiences also kind of bring in a lot of goodness and bad, and also, qualities that probably are something that are not progressive. So a lot of it, we have so much, collected. They have all become collectibles. All these kind of qualities are collectibles in our bodies, and and we express it in the form of our emotions, and these emotions come from our thoughts, emotions, and then we act on that, right? So therefore, we need to understand that every species of life is the gift of the Lord, or the Lord has implanted them, or this material world has been impregnated by that supreme energy of the Lord. Without that supreme energy, we all wouldn't exist, right? So he said, I am the seed-giving father of everything. He takes responsibility for it. But then he also says, we have a responsibility. What is that? Especially the human form, as I've said before, is the one that can make choices. The other species do not have the element of intellect. So therefore, we have a great opportunity, and particularly people who have been lucky to have had a good life. We must make that effort to not only kind of, see how we can make use of our own life and put our lives to good use, and also help others. We have to share this knowledge with others. If somebody wants to hear this, let's go out and help them. That's what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada created all these platforms and all these books that he has written is predominantly because he wants to create that awareness of Krishna consciousness, in the world. And he says, if Krishna consciousness is not there, then it's unlikely that we will come out of this entanglement that we have strongly built for ourselves. Okay. So these are the various kind of species that I said. So every species, behaves in the way that it has to behave. And that is what is called the gunas. I behave based on the kind of a body type I have. A fish, what does the fish do? The fish feels comfortable only in water, and it constantly keeps looking around for some food, for thing, and then constantly is in fear because if some other bigger fish comes and takes it away, or some other bigger aquatic animal comes to attack it, or maybe on top of that, we as human beings also put our own bait and take the fish out for our own food. And then you have a whole lot of these wild animals. The wild animals will behave wild because their gunas are such. And we therefore should not behave like those animals or like those kind of species which are inherently made that way. Because we have the ability to choose between good and the not so good. 14.5, from here starts the definitions of the Sattva Guna, the Raja Guna and the Tama Guna. 14.5 onwards, okay? And I thought I'm going to read it. I'm going to read Prabhupada's purport for these definitions because they're so beautiful. Did I say that I will read this? I have marked some things for you, that which I want us to read together. So not this, okay. 14.11, 12, and 13 is what we will read, but this I will explain. Okay. So he says, material nature consists of three modes. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Now, what does it mean? When the living entity means the living entity, that which gets a body type, that is, and it behaves based on the body type it gets, it automatically kind of is conditioned to kind of conduct its activities in that body type it has. Okay. Now, what is the mode of goodness? Can anyone tell me what would be your own idea of what is goodness, what is passion, and what is ignorance? That is, this is called the Sattva Guna, the Raja Guna, and the Tama Guna. Anyone wants to give it a try? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, anybody? Have you heard of these terms? Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tama Guna?
Yes, ma'am, we have heard.
Okay. So do you want to attempt to see what is your understanding of Sattva Guna, the Raja Guna, and the Tama Guna? Okay, no problem. Now, please understand. All of us have all these three gunas. It is there in all the species. It depends on which one is more predominant than the others. In some people, the Sattva Guna will be more predominant and there will be less of Raja and the Tama. In some people, the Raja will be more predominant and less of Sattva and Tama. And in some people, the Tama will be very, very predominant and the goodness and Rajaguna will not be visible at all in such people. However, each one of us can slip into the lower gunas. For example, someone who is high on Sattva Guna can easily slip into the Rajaguna, and similarly, the Rajaguna person also can slip into the Tama Guna. So therefore, we have to be constant. Therefore, what it means is we have to be constantly keep an eye on how we are conducting ourselves. It is not something that will just happen once I know that yes, I am predominantly a good person. It's not necessary that we'll remain good all ever. And similarly, if I'm always someone who's attached, so many people, they were all attached to their material things around them, but they all kind of they transformed. Once they had that self-awareness, once they kind of realized what life is, they transform. So transformation is possible. Unless and of course we have completely covered ourselves, with dirt and grime, that would be difficult. Remember that example that I gave you of what a smoke over fire or dirt over mirror and embryo in the womb. So it all depends on how deep the habits in us are. Okay. So in the next verse, we will see, okay, this is a little thing. Okay, 14.6, here he says, O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So what it means is that the mode of goodness predominantly is all about knowledge. That's why we need to see how we can engage or how we can help the society to gain knowledge. A society that is high on knowledge, or a society which is well educated. When I say well educated, not just a simple form of education that we go to school and we learn the ABC and then we learn other things based on specialities as we grow high. No, it is just not the subject matter knowledge. It's also the knowledge of spirituality. And that is what is lacking in our current system. If you really look at it, very often you must have heard about this, the British system when they came. Macaulay, who was the Governor General at that time of the East India Company, I believe when he wrote a letter back on his assessment of what he saw in India, he said, people are highly educated here. They are too highly educated. We need to kind of see how we need to break that, because education is empowering. So that knowledge is so empowering, it illuminates. It automatically takes the society high. It automatically builds a very, very empowered society. It also builds a society which is high in terms of progress and advancement. That is what knowledge is all about. And that's why you also see why very many times the people in power don't engage in helping people to really, come up through education and things like that, because they know once we get educated, we will be very demanding, and they don't want that of us. So the British, though they did what they did, we are no better now. We are continuing to do whatever they did in a subtle manner. We are doing it in a very gross manner now. Okay. So that's why in those days, the Brahmanas were the ones who were normally called or said to be in the mode of Sattva Guna, because they were knowledge-seeking individuals. And they had the capacity, the capability. Again, don't mistake the Brahmanas is not by birth. It is by way of your capacity, by way of your ability, and by way of, the way of, your own disposition and your own inclination, you can become a Brahman. Knowledge is what a person who has knowledge, a person who has awareness of God realization and who uses it to kind of spread that awareness to others is a Brahmana. Okay, please understand that. So now what happens is, very often you will find there are today, maybe those Brahmana kind of things are not there, because, we are living in the Kali Yuga, that kind of a classification not there. I told you in the very beginning, we are all Shudra class now. But however, if you really look at people who are very strong in their subjects, that's what the second part is talking about. But they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. What is that? When someone is very, very strong in their subject, think of a lawyer. He knows this he knows the subject in and out. A cardiologist, he's done several surgeries, and all his surgeries are success. And then a great academician who's got, who's kind of, who's been, a great person who has got great awards and accolades and stuff like that. What happens is, to them is, they get so used to that kind of they get so used to that expertise that they have in them, and everybody looking up to them. So Prabhupada says here that, look, they get conditioned to that. So that brings in Mahankara. That pride sets in there. So they're like, I am the best I know I'm the best cardiologist. Oh, this operation is a simple thing. I'll just do it like that. Then Ahankaram sets. They know that they are the best in their field. Nobody can shake them up. You look at some of these top lawyers, you look at their body language. They'll be like completely, in full control and command, as if the whole world is in their hands. But that, once that comes in, that's called condition. I get conditioned by my thoughts. I get conditioned by who I am. So when that happens, that conditioning does not help them. That's an attachment. That's an entanglement. That's a bondage. So that's a form of a bondage happens in people who are in the mode of goodness. And predominantly the people who are in the mode of goodness are people with high level of IQ and high level of knowledge of their subject matter. Okay. The next one.
Let us go for a stroll in the countryside. Look. I brought us a healthy picnic lunch. The air is clean here. It's so peaceful. Here we can get away from the agitating elements of the city.
Okay. So that is just a little play. I think that was done in the UK. So, a person in the mode of goodness predominantly is someone who's very thoughtful. Look, this person has actually picked up a picnic lunch, and he's also talking about all the good things that are there in the environment. And he said this is far away from the noise and the buzz that we are used to. So these people are normally, someone who are subtle. At the same time, their tastes are also, something which are not the ordinary. Okay, that is Sattva Guna. Now Rajo Guna. Rajo ragatmakam vitti trishna sanga samudbhavam tan nibadyanti kaunteya karma sangena dehina. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. There's no end to the desires. They want more and more because they're those enterprising kind of people. And they are someone who are like so attached. They're attached to their job, they attach to their designation, they attach to their family, they attach to their homes. Nothing wrong in it. But what happens is it doesn't end there. They feel very, very uncomfortable. They're always in fear. What if I lose it? They can't stand a moment where they are going to be in less, they're not going to be as much in control of the things that they would like to be, that they would like to have, whether it be fame, whether it be their prestige. They're always going after it. For them, they always need that affirmation, that acknowledgement. And if they don't get it, they get worried. I know so many people who, like, if say that one day the team hasn't really said anything nice to them, they get worried. What happened? Why hasn't the team said anything to me today? So such people have unlimited desire. It doesn't end. Aaj ek mila to aur jo chahiye. So unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, one is bound to material fruitive actors. So they never give up. They go on and on and on and on with the same rigor. They are in that, they are like that. You've seen a cycle rim, right? They go on moving. Same thing day in and day out. Nothing else appeals to them. And that leads to strong attachments and strong bondage. And that also leads to a lot of, grief, lot of pain, distress. So these are the kind of people who they get stressed out, and they also become a prisoner of their own thoughts and emotions. Okay. So again, there's the same play goes on.
Out here working on your head. Honey. I bet you forgot about Susie, didn't you? You're supposed to take her to Vegas this weekend. Lose your money, Vegas. You'll be rich. You'll reach the top. Just one hitch. You just got stuck. Just keep getting it.
You saw that? He's talking about his girlfriend there. He was supposed to go to Vegas, and he says, you can become rich in Vegas. So these people are predominantly, they just have different kinds of desires, and they just want to get it at any cost. So this is an example of the Rajoguna. Now let's look at the Tamaguna. O son of Bharata, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all the living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence means laziness, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. And let's look at this play again.
That's a man. I think you just need to chill with me. I got some 6-packs in the fridge, play some video games, watch some TV, shut the curtain and just shut out the world. Sounds good, huh?
So these are kind of people, they become a victim to their own bodies. They don't care about their own bodies. They think the world is unreal, and they also think it's only one life, and they make a miserable, they make their life so miserable that sometimes it becomes very, very unlikely, or rather, not sometimes, many times, it's unlikely that these people can really come out of it. Maybe 1 in a million will come out of this kind of a habit that they inculcate, but it's very, very, very difficult. The chances of them reverting to their, even if they get reformed, the chances of them falling back is very high. So therefore, at all costs, we must try and avoid any of those kind of habits, which are actually, they degrade us, and that which does not let us progress. Okay. So 14.9, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. So what is the purpose, or what is it that one can achieve in the mode of goodness? The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. The characteristics of goodness are happiness, passion, conditions you to fruits of action. Okay. So mode of goodness is conditions you to happiness. You're so used to that happiness. The passion conditions you to the fruit of action. You're always constantly attached to the things that you want to achieve, and you're constantly hankering for those outcomes. And the ignorance is completely turns you to madness. There is no purpose in life, and they are absolutely, someone who are completely, actually they live a very dark life. 14.10. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent. As I told you, all these things exist in all of us. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bharata. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion. And at other times, the ignorance defeats goodness and passion. Therefore, in this way, there's always a competition for supremacy for the modes which are ever present in us. Therefore, we have to be, with our intellect, the human intellect must be made use of to be aware of the outcomes or of the things that passion, or what kind of characteristics we are exhibiting that are qualities of passion and ignorance. So at all times we must stay away from that, and at the same time we must ensure that the goodness that we cultivate does not get into our heads, because once it gets into our head, that also leads to a certain form of an attachment toward the pride and the pride that comes with our knowledge. Okay. So this is how. So what is the principle? Who is that principal ingredient which kind of, is something that we must keep a watch on? It's our mind. Okay. The mind constantly is pulled in all directions. The three modes are pulling the thing. For example, it's like suppose you see a rasgulla, and you like rasgulla. The mind says, hey, I like it. I want it. Right. But suppose, say, you've already had 2 rasgullas in the morning, or you already had some chocolates. If the intellect is powerful in you, the intellect will say, no, not today, have it on some other day. But say you're someone who just goes with all your bodily and whatever your body says and your mind says. That is in the mode of ignorance. You don't care about what you've already done. And what do? By having more and more of something that you like, you're only kind of building in disease in your body. That is what is called ignorance. Ignorance always does not mean that the person is only into intoxication. Ignorance also means not knowing what we are doing and what will be the effect of what we do on ourselves. We are not bothered about the today and also a future. See, today I exist. So if in case I have to exist tomorrow, I need to also be careful as to my day tomorrow is as good as the day that I have it today, or the day I've had so far. So that is also ignorance. Okay, ignorance always does not mean intelligence, but normally people in the mode of ignorance, they just go by their bodily desires. Okay. Now there were 3 passages which I wanted us to read together. That is from 14.11. Okay. So here the manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illumined by knowledge. So let's read this purport of Srila Prabhupada. Let me just bring that up for you. Just give me a minute. Chapter 14. And this is 11. 11, 12, and 13 is what? They're short purports, so we can read it together. Can you see my screen? The purport of this 14.11, Hare Krishna? Is it visible? Hare Krishna, is it visible?
No, Mataji.
Acha, theek hai. I'll put it up. Give me a minute. Okay. Can somebody volunteer to read this, please, this purport? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
There are 9 gates in the body: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by the symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in right position, one can hear things in right position, and one can taste things in right position. one becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is the development of the symptoms of happiness, and that is the position of goodness. Hare Krishna, Mother.
Hare Krishna. Wasn't it beautiful? Well explained, right? So you use all your body organs for the right things. When you use your body for the right things, it leads to happiness. And that is the position of a person in the Sattva Guna mode. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. The next one is a person in the mode of passion. So he says, O chief of the Bharatas, when there's an increase in the mode of passion, the symptom of great attachment, what are the symptoms? Great attachment to fruitive activity, intense endeavor. They're constantly engaging themselves because they can't give up. And uncontrollable desire and hankering. Hankering means that attachment develops. Hankering means they keep wanting more and more. Hankering means the desires only multiplies. So can someone read this purport, Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatable house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering of sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristics of the mode of passion. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So person in the Rajoguna is never satisfied with anything. He wants more and more. He hankers means he earns for more and more. Okay. Next is 14.3. It says, whenever there's an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, laziness, madness, and illusion are manifested. So here someone read the purport, please. Hare Krishna. These are short purports. Hare Krishna. Someone read.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, read.
When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. When one in the mode of ignorance does not work by regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. Thus, this is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So I told you from now, yesterday I told you I want to kind of, help you inculcate this habit of also reading Prabhupada's purports. So that's why I'm picking up some which are easy, so that you pick it up once you finish this overview session. Okay. So we saw 11, 12, and 13. So let's go to 14. Now, what happens to these people who kind of, what happens to them at the end of the life? So when one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the purer higher planets. It means what? You join the cohorts of the people like you. You join the birds who have similar feathers like you. So what it means is that such people, when you kind of cultivate goodness, there is a sure birth available to you in terms of better life. That's what it means. The better life can either be on the earth frame itself, or it can be in the higher planets where you are, but however, you are assured of a position that will be similar to the people that you will be interacting with. So that kind of, the Lord is trying to tell us that whatever we do has an effect. What we are today is because of the effect of our past. Now, what we want to become in the future is something that we have to decide. Because he says, definitely what you do today is something that you have to pay for. Nothing goes without having to be, you have to bear it. You have to bear the consequences of your action. So therefore, mind your actions. Good things lead to a better life. in the future, a better life now and the better life in the future. Anything bad, be aware, you need to pay a price. In fact, Prabhupada gives an example of people who indulge in killing animals for their food and stuff like that. He says, just the way you are killing animals today, be aware and be rest assured, those animals will kill you tomorrow. That's a law of nature. What you do will come back to you. That is a law of nature. That is one of the regulative principles which all of us follow in ISKCON, is no meat eating. Because even a smallest insect has a soul inside it. So who are we? Can we generate souls? No. That soul is an eternal part of that Parabrahman. Who are we to kind of, kill a soul? We have no right to do that. 14.15, when one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Because at the end of the day, animal kingdom is what has no, there's no rules and no regulations. What does it do? Just simply eat, sleep, and always be cautious. Look for the, who are the predators around you, or you look for your prey. And then finally also engage in physical activity so that you can procreate. So such people will invariably get those kind of body. If in the human form, they are not using their life well, they will get a lifetime which will help them, which will kind of engage them and obviously help them to grow, fulfill their desires. Therefore, watch out to what we think and how you are doing, you're conducting your life, because what we do is what we become in our next cycle, not only in this life. This life will become miserable, the next life will also be miserable. And the person in the passion, he will again get an opportunity, either in the same human form or some other form where he can continue with that passion of attachment and fulfill his desires for, all the desires that he so collectively, takes forward. Okay. So 14.6, he says, by acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Goodness is actually a purification, actually helps you to engage in the purification process. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, because it's always, you're never satisfied. So obviously there'll be distress and there will be grief. And actions performed in the mode of grace result in foolishness, because this human form is a form which is so great. So use it in the right way so that you're not making a fool of yourself. 14.17, from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. Sattva guna is the one which helps you to kind of, build your knowledge, build your intellect, and also helps you to kind of create that, take you step forward towards your self-awareness and that God realization. From the mode of passion, only grief develops, dukkham. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, illusion develop, which is like completely takes you down into the lowest form of life. And you can't, in a mode of ignorance, neither can you help yourself and neither will anybody else be able to. Who has a time these days? Tell me. I've seen in so many families when anyone goes a little wayward, after the parents go away, where are the siblings going to take care of all these people? So therefore, we have to be very careful with what, in fact, I always tell children, wherever there are, I tell my own family also, wherever there are, 2-3 children together, I tell them, please, if one is doing well, I tell the others, please, try and see what is your strength and do well there. Because tomorrow when the parents are not going to be there, you're going to be left all by yourself, because the one who's doing well, will be focusing on himself or herself. And then they will not even look at you as someone, they want to engage with, even though they are your sibling. So therefore, we have to be very careful how we kind of really want to, make good for ourselves. And also remember, sometimes today, yes, when we have friends, it all may seem like, oh my God, they are the one stop for you for everything. But once, everyone grows up and everyone, has their own, paths to follow, they will have very little time. We all grew up with so many friends and now we are left with a handful of us, because at the end of the day, even among the friends, though we all went to the same school, same college, after sometimes you'll find that your ideas and your wavelengths don't match. So obviously, you don't have the same kind of an attachment that you had when you were probably young. So keep all I'm just telling you all this because keep all these things in your mind, because you're all young. So watch out for things and ensure that you kind of, don't fall prey to your passions. And I'm sure none of you are ignorant. All that I can say is don't fall prey to your passions, but see how you can really become liberated. When I say liberated means liberate yourselves from all these unwanted things that are constantly distracting us, and try and see how you can create the self-awareness and be perfect. Set up your goal, whatever it is, whether you're pursuing medicine, whether you're pursuing, law, or you are already in a certain, in an employment in your role. Try and see what are the various things that you can do to come up and you do well in that line of profession that you have chosen. So the Lord says in 14.17, from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. From the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develops. Okay. So we want to be that sublime face that confident. We want to become the confident person. We want to really also be humble. Not so, don't let the confidence get the better of you. The confidence should be there, but at the same time, be humble. Okay. 14.18. Urdhavam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtanti rajasah jaganya gunavrittistah ado gachanti tamasah. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Obviously, if you're in the mode of goodness, you're only looking up to what is next for you at the higher level. And those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. You remain where you are. And those in the mode of ignorance, they dig grave for themselves. Next is, so we all need to be like that flight. We shouldn't look to diving into the ocean and drown ourselves. We want to really always be on the tarmac to fly up. So that's why I said Bhagavad Gita is all about looking high thinking, simple living. So this is this universe. We are talking about the various higher planets and middle planet. So you can see about the center is where the Bhur Loka is. The Earth planet is the middle planet. And then here the Earth planet is subtle and gross. That is, it has, all that, that we all the 24 elements that we spoke about. The higher planets is only subtle. There's nothing gross. Now, how are the higher? I think the highest is the Satya Loka, which is the Loka of Brahma. Then there is Tapaloka, Janaloka, Mahaloka. All this you can read if you're interested. I told you Vedic cosmology. It's also there, I think, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lokas below us. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lokas above us. We are the 7th. We are 7th in the planetary system. And then there are 7 below us. And this is what the Lord says. But remember, even the higher planetary systems, even when you go to the Satya Loka also goes through the process of annihilation. So if you really want to ultimately get ourselves free from this universal existence, we need to see how we can just break open the shell that covers this universe and reach to that supreme Loka of the Lord, which is called the Goloka Vrindavan. Okay. 14.19. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. The moment we are we have crossed over those desires which are pulling us to the material passions, and we rise up above these mundane things, you can be rest assured that you have reached the qualities that the Supreme Lord has. It sounds simple, but is it difficult? No, it comes with practice. Okay. Just like Prabhupada was such a humble man, $4 or $5, he reached the US, and look at the wonders, the magic he created. So devotion brings magic. Think of Prabhupada when you think of devotion, and that will keep you steadfast on devotion. 14.20. Someone wants to read 14.20? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Guruji, please do.
When the embodied being is able to transcend these 3 modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and his distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life.
Yes, so that's what I keep telling you, right? So when you kind of transcend, or when you kind of give up all these mundane, material, useless desires, you will have an extraordinary, sense of happiness that engulfs you. You will be ever happy. You will be ever illuminated. You will ever be positive. You will ever be looking for, progress, a progress that kind of takes you, that takes you to the higher realm of knowledge and higher realm of peace. And you will really be the star wherever you go, because you're always positive. Positivity, is infectious. It draws people to you. So we need to understand it's not about only what happens next. This life is beautiful. We have to ensure how we can kind of make the best use of this life that we have. God is assuring us what will happen in the future, but he's also assuring us that this life can also become a spiritual paradise for you. So each one of us have to really make this material existence of us to very spiritual, and there is paradise in this life as well. Okay, so create that paradise. It's not only about the freedom that we get from the janma, mrityu, zara, vyadi. Janma means birth, mrityu means death, zara means old age, and death death is janma, mrityu, zara. Distresses is vyadi is diseases, right? So we will get liberation even in this lifetime. And of course, the next lifetime, the Lord is assuring us that we will never have such a life at all. We'll be freed from such a life. That's the assurance that the Lord gives. Now, so look at that. So that is a power of japa. That's a power of association with like-minded people. Associate yourself with like-minded people, because that will help you to kind of, progress. If you kind of, get into the company of people who don't believe in all these things, it's likely that, as Lord says, slipping into the lower modes are high. So Arjuna now inquires, "Oh dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known? How can we figure out who has become transcendental? What is his behavior? How does he transcend the modes of nature?" This is the same. Remember, Arjuna asked this question: who is the Sthita Prajna? How does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? Right? So again, he's asking, who will be that Gunatita? Who is that person who has crossed over these gunas? How will that person, behave? And how does one transcend the modes of nature? How does really one even go above the sattva guna? How can I become the Shuddha sattva guna? How can I really take myself to the highest form of that guna which the Lord has, the qualities that the Lord has? So can someone read this 13.22 to 13.25?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The blessed Lord said, "He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they are disappeared, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, and looks on a cloud, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friends and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature." Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So you know this all, we have studied all this in all these chapters, So it's talking about balance. You neither go high nor low. You're neither worried when there is pain, and neither you go on a high drive, on an overdrive when there is pleasure, or when there is honor, or when there is fame, or when you're getting accolades, or when you're getting acknowledgement, or when you're getting awards, or neither do you cry when nothing comes your way. you're fine. You just take it, everything in your stride as it comes. Neither do you ask for more, nor are you unhappy when there is less. And neither you look upon friends and enemies. First of all, you will not have enemies, because you will just look at it as a situational thing. You will be aware of, of people who you may know, you may not think that will fit into your scheme of things or into your bill of but however, you will not have any kind of dvesha. You will not develop any kind of hate for anybody. You will look upon everyone with equal eyes. You will always believe that everything can change. You will always believe that yes, even a bad person can become good tomorrow. You will always think the best for everyone, not only for yourself. And in fact, Prabhupada's purport says that it's because of such people that the world order is still in motion. There are a sort of lot of good souls in this world, because of which we are able to kind of lead our lives. So therefore, we have to see how can we ourselves become like this, and also increase this tribe in number. And that is the thing of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness has got nothing to do with religion. Krishna consciousness is all about self-realization, and how do we make our own lives better and help others to become their lives, to make their lives better as well. That is Krishna consciousness. That is God consciousness. That is God realization. Okay. 14.26. He says, one who engages in full devotional service. He answered the first question was, what was the first question? There were a couple of questions. He says, what are the symptoms of one who is transcendental to these modes? What is his behavior? And how does he transcend the modes of nature? So this, in 22 to 25, he talks about the qualities of one who is transcended the modes of nature. And now the Lord is saying, one who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the mode of material nature. Next question of Arjuna was, how do they transcend? So one who engages, you're steadfast. You don't just, you don't waver in your devotion. I've often told you, devotion is not a matter of convenience. It's not a matter of, okay, today I do, tomorrow I don't care. No. One who is steadfast in devotional service, the devotional service takes care of his, it keeps him steadfast on his path, and he does not fall down in any circumstance. At once he transcends the mode of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Please remember, you don't become Brahman, but you come to the level of Brahman. What did I tell you? The Lord has 64 qualities. Brahma has 50 qualities. We can attain those 50 qualities that are of Brahma. Okay, that's why the Lord says, if we make up our mind and if we endeavor to do that, we can get those 50 qualities of Brahma. The Lord has 64 qualities. Lord Krishna has 64 qualities. Brahma has 50 qualities. Jivatmas can aspire to get those 50 qualities. 14.27. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amratas ya vyasyasya yacha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. The impersonal Brahman is also the Lord, because the Lord is all pervasive. He is omnipresent. And he says, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Who? Lord Krishna is the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Okay? So that is what gives you that bliss. The Shuddha Sattva Guna gives you that bliss, because you get the qualities of that Brahman, which is all about, which is only happiness, and it is immortal, it's eternal. Happiness is eternal. And it's imperishable. Nobody can come and, take away the happiness once we are in the God realized state. Nobody can come and take that away from us. And it is eternal. It is not only helps us to lead a good life now, but it comes with us as we step into the next cycle. Okay. So with this chapter ends. So we saw the various modes that condition us, and also we also saw the effects of these modes, and we need to be aware of these modes which are derailing, or that which will kind of pull us down, which is rajas and tamas. And we also talked about, we saw the qualities 13.22 to 13.26, where the Lord kind of describes how we can transcend, or how we can become a gunatita, how we can attain that purity, that of the level of Brahman, which is the all-pervading Paramatma who is everywhere. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I'm happy that you all joined the class today, despite it being an evening for most youngsters. I'm sure you'll have a lot of other engagements. So thank you so much for being here. So tomorrow we will look at chapter 15, Yoga of the Supreme Person. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, did you like this chapter? Chapter 14? You know, chapter 8 is my favorite. Chapter 14 is my favorite. Then chapter 18 is my favorite. So these are all really nice chapters, you know. They're very simple and easy to follow. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, Anirudh Prabhu, I think you will get somebody from that Brahma Samhita group will reach out to you. Okay.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Have a nice evening, and see you tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.